Today we will mostly I will be talking about your cloud and few of the security part questions, and one of my colleague, he will be joining today and he will be talking about your Python and red teaming questions, right? So few of them will be simply Q&A and the other one will be your MCQ types, right? So I will give you guys around 2 to 3 minutes for each and every question, right? Put your answers over the chat so that I can know that what majority is for that particular question, right? And we can discuss that particular question. Okay. So I will be giving you guys 2 to 3 minutes per question to think about that particular question, and then you can type your answer over that chat. So first we will start with your cloud, right? So we will discuss when you go for a job in the cloud, what are the basic questions that the interviewer will ask you, right? So the first basic question which you will be asked is what is cloud computing, right? Cloud computing is nothing using all your IT resources over the internet, right, at a very feasible cost, right? When I say your IT resources, here we will add each and every resource which we deploy over your on premises, your computing, your storage, your networking part, and your analytical part. Each and every resource which we deploy over the on premises, we can use that particular resource over the internet. That thing is called your cloud computing, right? So cloud computing is on demand delivery of computer services including servers, storage, database, networking, software, analytical, and intelligence over the internet, right? So this thing you have to remember that simple definition using your IT resources over the internet, and these are few of the added advantage of cloud computing that it offers faster innovation. It means all the things which will be available over the cloud will be up to date. Okay, flexible resources are available mostly 24/7, and mostly all type of resources will be available at this particular place. And economics of scale, it means your feasibility. It means we don't have to invest that much of capital to use your cloud. Now the second question is what are the advantages of cloud computing, right? Okay, let's discuss this thing. So cloud computing comes with several advantages. Some of the advantages are below. High availability, available wherever you go, have internet and device can use services. Yes. So first major advantage is your high availability. Most of the resources, or I will say 99% of the resources are available 24 into 7. And if we exclude the third party resources which are there over the cloud, if you are using any particular cloud service provider, let's just say your AWS or your Azure, and if we talk about only the resources that they are providing, excluding your third party, the resources are available 24/7, right? So here we have high availability of resources. Anything I want, I can get it in a single click within a second, right? I don't wait. I don't have to wait for a day or two to purchase something, right? Scalability, elasticity, agility, geo distribution, disaster recovery. Okay, so it means I can add any resource I want anytime. I can add any machine I want in my network or in my infrastructure anytime. If I want to increase my computing power, I can do that in a second, in a single click, right? Resources are available in 195 countries, if I say, when we talk about your Azure, and around 200 countries when we say your AWS. So it means wherever I am, right? Either in India, either in USA, either in UK, I can access that particular service. The using of that particular service will never be stopped on the basis of my location, right? Disaster recovery, they have their backups data centers, right? Which we call your availability sets in case of your Azure, right? So different continents, different country have different reasons or different zones for their data centers, right? We can choose that particular zone, and in case of disaster, your service will be shifted to some other data center, right? So they have all this particular things. Agility, it means simply that if, let's just say, I'm having two departments in my organization, this is department 1, this is department 2. In a single click, I can move this department resources to this particular department, right? I don't have to wait for any of the process, that what will be the consequences, whether I have to take care of the networking part or not. Nothing like that. Simple, in a second I can allocate this particular resource of this department to this particular department, right? I don't have to worry about anything. So these are few of the advantages. We can also add your fault tolerance, right? And multiple more things. Your maintenance part, your less downtime, all the things are maintained by your CSP. Then comes your question number 3. What is the scalability of cloud computing? Okay, so again, you guys have 2-3 minutes. So think of this as two scenarios, right? So right now I have two scenarios, right? One thing is that I want to use some software. My laptop specification is 4 GB of RAM and around 1 TB of space, right? This is my current specification of my laptop, right? Now if I want to use a software whose minimum requirement is that your system should have 8 GB of RAM, right? This is the minimum requirement of that particular software. Now what I will do, either purchase a new laptop. I will have two options, right? Either purchase a new laptop or increase my RAM. Either I go purchase a new laptop which is having this particular specification, or I increase my RAM from 4 to 8 GB. Okay, when we do this thing, when we want to add your computing resources over your laptop or over a particular VM, okay, when we want to add a particular resource or when we want to increase the computing power of this particular VM, that thing is called your vertical scalability. Okay, now if I am in my particular network and here in this network three devices are there, three virtual machines I have set up. If I want to add a new virtual machine, right, if I want to add a new virtual machine or if I want to remove this virtual machine, that thing is called your horizontal scalability. Okay, scalability simply means adding and removing of resources. All of you were pretty much accurate, right? So resources can be anything: your networking, your computing, your storage part, your analytical part. But we have two types of scalability. One is your horizontal one. Second is your vertical one. In vertical one, when we want to add or remove a particular resource from a single machine, that thing is called your vertical. And when we want to add either a new service or a new machine over a particular network, that thing is called your horizontal scalability. Okay, so any doubt in this thing? Okay, see, when we go through that particular answer, you will see it here. Your scaling is of two type, vertical and your horizontal one. So in vertical, what we are trying to do, we are trying to increase a particular memory of a particular machine, right, from 4 to 32 GB. And in your horizontal one, we are trying to add multiple machine at a particular workstation, right? So adding a resource or service or removing that resource or service for a particular machine, yeah, vertical scaling. Horizontal, when I'm adding or removing multiple machines or services from a particular infrastructure. Okay, cool with this? Okay, so let's move to our next question. What kind of services are offered in the cloud? Okay, so since the answer will be very simple, but what I want from you guys is, so when we talk about your services, there are basically three services out there in the market, and other services which are there other rather than these three, these all will be the sub part of these three only, right? So we have your infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Okay, now what all things we have in infrastructure as a service, right? If I talk about the things which your CSP will provide me when I'm opting for infrastructure as a service, what all things will I get when I'm opting for infrastructure as a service from your cloud service provider? Mr. Nasruddin, I'm talking about infrastructure as a service, right? Not your software as a service, right? So the answer that you wrote will be applicable over your software as a service. Pay as per use service, right? That thing is applicable in each and every service, right? Whatever service that cloud is offering you, your pay as per use service will be applicable to each and every service. Okay, so first thing we will have is your storage part or your computing part. So your storage, your networking, and your servers, and last thing is your virtualization. Right, these will be the things which I will be offered by your CSP, right? So someone here wrote that we will also get operating system. That thing we will not get in your infrastructure as a service. We as a user can choose any operating system that we want. Okay, so when we talk about your infrastructure as a service, so I think Miss Manushri told us that your operating system will be included, right? But when we talk about infrastructure as a service, we don't talk about your operating system, right? That thing we can choose of our own as a user, right? So these are the three, four basic stuff that your CSP will give you, and other than that, your operating system, your middleware, your runtime, data, application, all the things that you will be managing. Okay. Now, other than these things, what all things I will be getting in your platform as a service by your CSP, right? These things now will be applicable to your platform and your software also. Other than these, what all things I will be getting from your CSP in your platform as a service. Other than these three, if I add those two things, and what all things will be available in your software as a service, these things, these four, these three will be available. Other than these, what all things we can add in your software as a service? Now let's move to our question number 5. So these things are written here only. So we discussed it in a very detailed manner. Are you aware about the different deployment models of the cloud? So what all deployment models are there in your cloud? So basically, whenever we talk about your models, we only say your public, private, and hybrid, right? We can also add your community here. Okay. So private, the one where you own the infrastructure and the cloud provider allows you to get the service exclusively. Real-time example to remember this thing, your mobile phone. Owned by you, no one can use that thing. Whatever data that you are holding over your phone, only you can have access to that data. Whatever applications that are there in your phone, only you can have access to that application, right? If you are having, let's just say Facebook, so I, from the outside, I cannot access your Facebook account, right? So to best example to remember this thing is your mobile phone. That is very private to you. No one can use that thing. No one can use the services that are there in your mobile phone, right? Public cloud, the one where you get the multi-tenant infrastructure from the service provider exclusively. The one which is available to all. Google App Engine. Yep, very good. The one which is available to your. If I say this particular session, right? This particular JCP, it is available to each and everyone, right? There is no foundation, there is no prerequisite that you should have just this knowledge to attend this webinar, right? That thing is not applicable here. It is available to each and every person out there, right? So that is something your public cloud, where the resources that your public cloud is offering is available to each and everyone who is having access to your internet. Hybrid cloud is basically a setup of intermixed public and private data. So to remember this thing, your TV. Each and every person might have a TV at their homes. So this thing is available to you also. This thing is available to your family members also. Right. So that is something hybrid where the resources are available as a private thing also and as a public thing also. Now, how your TV can become your public and private? If you put this particular TV in your own room, so your family members cannot have access to that. So that thing something can become your private part. If your TV is over your hall or over your particular guest room, so each and every member can have access according to their need, right? So if you want to watch something right now, and if someone is not watching, you can get access to this particular TV, right? So combination of your public and your private is your hybrid. Now the next thing is your community model. I think that is also your next question. So those who answered or who told me that we have one more model, that is your community, I need an answer that what is this particular model. So in this particular session, what we discussed your basics of hacking, basics of cloud and cloud security, your RAT tool, and your Python part, right? And we can also add your security part. These things we added, okay? So who all learned these things? We as a community, right? So we 16 people right now here, we learned all these things, right? Now let's just say I created a cloud for your security and for your cloud, for your ethical hacking, basic of ethical hacking, and for your red team. Who will have access to these things? Only us who are in this particular community. We will have access to these things. Okay. If someone from outside comes, right? So let's just say tomorrow a new person comes. Okay. And he says that, okay, I also want to use these services. So this service will not be applicable to this particular person. Only the people in this particular community will be having access to these cloud services. Okay, so that is what your community cloud is. Okay, any doubts in this? Yep, it's like group. Exactly. We can say that a particular group is using their own cloud. Okay, so we got a very good example from Mr. Santosh that bank uses cloud, right? So what will happen? This will be bank A, this will be bank B, this will be bank C, this will be bank D, and this will be a complete cloud, your cloud service for this particular bank, right? So people outside this particular bank, we as a normal people cannot access this particular cloud. Okay, this cloud is specially created for your banks only. So this might be created by your government, right? Or some private agency which your group of banks might have hired to create a cloud service. Okay. So we can say a specific group of people using a particular cloud which is created for their own use is your community cloud. Okay, so community cloud is a cloud infrastructure that allows systems and services to be accessible by a group of several organizations to share the information. It is owned, managed, and operated by one or more organizations in the community, a third party, or a combination of them. Right? To remember this thing, think of this as a WhatsApp group. Right? So if we create a WhatsApp group, only we are allowed to talk in this particular group. People from outside cannot have access to all the things that we are discussing in this WhatsApp group, right? Whatever things we are sharing in this WhatsApp group, people from outside cannot have access to that thing. Okay, so to remember this thing, always remember your WhatsApp group. Cool. Now comes your MCQ part. Which of the following statement is not true about cloud computing? Okay, so 2 minutes. See, we discussed these two things right now only. That IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS are the examples of your cloud computing service. And if I say the full form, IaaS is for infrastructure as a service, PaaS is your platform as a service, and SaaS is your software as a service. So these two statements are for sure true. When we talk about statement number one, cloud computing resources are usually limited to specific geographic regions, right? So when we discussed your advantages, right, over there we discussed that one of the advantage of your cloud computing is your geographic regions, that it is available to mostly each and every location out there which is having a internet access. So this will be your answer for this particular question. So let's check the answer, and the answer is cloud computing resources are usually limited to specific geographic regions, right? So if we remove this limited part, this statement will become correct. Then comes your question number two. So we discussed that how we can use your Azure services. So we will go with your false. Okay. Now, when we talk about your Azure, there are two types of resources. One, some are free ones, some are paid ones. To use the free resources, you don't have to purchase an account. Okay. So to use a free resource over the Azure, you don't need to create or you don't need to purchase a Azure account. Okay, if you are trying to use the paid ones, at that particular time you have to purchase a Azure account with some subscription, right? So they will for initial I purchase $100 subscription for my Azure account. Now from this particular $100 I will be charged when I will be using the paid services, right? But to use the free services, you don't need to purchase a Azure account. Okay, so the answer will be false. Now, question number three. 2 minutes you guys have. CSP is responsible for hardware, right? So your cloud tenant is nothing but your CSP, the particular tenant that you are using for the service, your Azure, your AWS, your Google Cloud Service. These are nothing but your cloud tenants who are providing you cloud services. So this statement will be true because whenever we talk about your hardware maintenance, it is all your CSP. User don't have to worry for hardware whenever we talk about your cloud. Which of the following choices isn't a cloud computing category? So networking is your resource. It's not a service, it's your resource. Remember when we talked about your IT resources, we had four major resources: your computing, your storage, your networking, and your analytical. Right, so it's not a service, it's a resource. So platform is a service, infrastructure and software is a service. So the answer will be option number two. Okay. So whenever we talk about your three major models, we have public, private, hybrid. Other than this, we learned your community. Okay, so the answer will be your option number four. Distributed cloud is no model. So the answer is option number four. Which of the following statements is true? Okay, so read the statements and find the answer. So majority vote was for option number one, right? First thing first, what is OPEX and what is CAPEX, right? Whenever we talk about your CAPEX, we talk about the spending of money on your physical infrastructure. Okay, so CAPEX, spending of money over your physical infrastructure. But when we talk about your cloud, this thing is not available in your cloud because there is no physical infrastructure, right? So this thing is applicable over your on-premises part. Okay, this thing is not applicable over your cloud because over the cloud we don't have any physical infrastructure. When we talk about your OPEX, it is spending your money on the products or the services that we need. So simply pay as you use. Very good. I got the answer. pay as you use. So when we discuss your option number three, your capex one, here they are talking about your computing. So if I read option number two, with operating expenses OPEX, you are responsible for purchasing and maintaining your computing resources, right? So if in place of OPEX, if we write here your CAPEX, that will be your true option. But there here they are talking about your OPEX, so it will be true. So we only got one option left. With operating expenses, you are only responsible for the computing resources that you use. So this will be the correct option. Okay. So always remember, CapEx is spending money over your physical infrastructure. OpEx, spending over the products and services that you want to use right now. Okay. So that is your pay as you use model, which we use in your cloud. So OpEx is directly related to your computing part. In Azure has physically separate location across two continents. Okay. So this thing will for not be true, because when we talk about your Azure, we have your regions over different countries. If we talk about your single Asia continent, your India is also having Azure region, your China is also having a U region, right? So this particular part, your so this will be the wrong option. Instructions: review the underlined text. If it makes the statement correct, select no changes needed. If the statement is incorrect, select okay. Now comes what is the job of this particular region, right? Why do we create regions for different geographic locations, right? So in this particular region, what we will do, we will put our data centers that will be used for providing your public cloud service. Okay. Now we talk about your availability zone, right? So what is your availability zone? So these are nothing but your multiple isolated location within each region, right? So each region will have some availability zone. This thing is available at each region. Okay, so within a single Azure region and within a multiple Azure regions. Okay, so here we are talking about a single one. We are not talking about multiple availability zones, right? So we are will be not talking about your multiple Azure regions, right? When we are talking about a single availability zone, so that thing will be applicable to a particular region, right? So the answer will be within a single Azure region, there will be an availability zone, so that in case of any natural disaster, our data can be shifted from one data center to another data center. Okay, any question on this? Question number eight, answers. Okay, BB. What about others? Here they are talking about cloud computing model is generated towards software development. Arshad choose for, okay, one vote for option number C. One vote for option number A. Okay, software as a service for Mr. Tejas. Harish, okay, +1. One more for software. So, okay, more answers, more answers. What about others? Okay, B, 3 votes for B. All are choosing software as a service. Okay, option B. Okay, so most of the people are going with this. So, so answer according to majority is software as a service, right? When we talk about your software development, we talk about your testing and creating of your software. In which model we discussed your testing and creating part, that this will for not be true. Here we don't talk about this thing, your infrastructure as a service and your testing and creating for your software development. Okay. So in which particular model we talk about your testing and creating of a particular software or a particular application. Okay, platform as a service. Okay, so those who chose software as a service, here we don't have to do any development. These are nothing. Here we are, what we are doing, we are using your paid services or your paid softwares. If I take an example of Netflix, are you developing anything on Netflix or not? Right? No, you are simply purchasing the subscription and using that particular application. Right? So when we talk about your software as a service, you will get a application to use. But when we talk about your platform as a service, here you will get the platform to create an application. Okay, so software development is nothing, creating software, doing test on that particular software. So that option will be your option number B, platform as a service. Okay, so those who selected software as a service and infrastructure as a service, any doubt in this particular thing, that why we are going with option number B and not with option number C? Okay, wherever you see your development regarding your application or software, we always think of something like platform. Okay, no worries with that confusion. It's clear or not, Mr. Arshad? Okay, okay. Software directly means application, no development. We are using the service. But in your platform, we are talking about your development part. What about others who chose software as a service and infrastructure as a service? Cool. So answer is platform as a service. Which cloud computing model are two example of Google Docs and Salesforce CRM? Fast answers. Very simple question. And the other one is deployment model. Okay. Whenever we talk about your service model, we have your IaaS, PaaS, and software as a service. When we talk about your deployment model, we have your public, private, hybrid, and you can also add your community. Okay. Now the question is, which cloud computing model are two examples? Here we are talking about your computing model. Computing model is nothing but your service model. Okay. So this was a bit tricky question to have a good understanding that what cloud computing model is. Okay. So cloud computing model is nothing but your service model. So your option will be software as a service. Here in the previous one, yep, so that was a tricky one. So in the previous one, we were talking about your development. So we chose your platform as a service. In this, we are simply choosing your application, no development. So when you have been given a direct application, that thing is software as a service. So someone who chose platform as a service, mhm, right, Mr. Arshad, right? You got your answer. Why we are going with software as a service, not platform as a service? Because here in this particular question, we are not talking about any development, your application development. We are simply using that particular application. So if we are using any cloud application, that is your software as a service. If you want to develop the application, that will be your platform as a service. Okay. So those who chose option number C, I hope you got my point that why we are going with software as a service. Okay. This thing is your deployment model. Now, question related to your hacking part. Right. So you guys have 2 3 minutes to read this thing and choose the answer. One vote for option number D. One more vote for D. Okay, most of the people are going with D. We got one vote for A. Okay, everyone. Okay, one more vote for A, and rest everyone is going with option number D. Cool. What about others? Which type of joker hacker your Joe will be? Will he be your suicide hacker, activist, black hat, or a script kiddie? Okay, one vote for black hat. Okay, so mostly people are going with D. So according to the majority, the answer is your D, script kiddie. Okay, so let's discuss this here only. So which type of hacker Joe is considered to be in this case? Joe works in a security engineer at a company. See, he is working as a security engineer. It means he have good knowledge. So those who are selecting your option number D, this option will automatically be wrong because script kiddie is someone who is having zero knowledge, right? If I am very new to hacking, what I will do? I will watch a YouTube video and according to that YouTube video, I will try to do a attack, right? That is someone who is just script kiddie, who is having zero knowledge. But here in this particular question, they already mentioned that Joe works as a security engineer. It means he have a very good knowledge with regarding your security. Okay, so this option will automatically be wrong. Joe learns that his employer is downsizing and that he will be laid off soon. Okay, Joe installs a virus and begins deleting data and settings across the network. So you can see he uploaded a particular virus which only will delete the configuration across the network and the data that is present over that particular network, right? So he is having a very good knowledge. So for sure he is not someone who is very new to your that hacking part, with little care about being caught. Okay, so hacktivists, they are your influencers. So this will not be your joke. Now comes your black hat and your suicide hacker. Right. Black hat is someone who is doing an attack over an organization with who is having a very good knowledge for your money purpose. Okay, but here in this particular example, once Joe delete all the data and setting across the network, he is not getting any money. He is simply doing this just to take revenge. Okay, he is doing this just to take revenge because they are kicking him off the company, right? So he is for sure not black hat because he is not doing this for money. Okay, so option A will be the answer, your suicide hacker. Why? Because he knows of the outcome, that if he gets caught there will be some consequences. Okay, if I try to hack some government website, I know that consequences, that if I get caught I have to go to jail for some months or I have to pay some particular fine, right? But still I'm doing that thing, right, without caring about being caught, right? So that is someone your suicide hacker, right? So because he is getting kicked off from that particular company, he is simply doing the suicide, that why not delete all the data which is across that particular company's network. Okay, so answer will be A, suicide hacker. So those who were selecting your script kiddies, any doubt in this particular question, that why we are not going with your script kiddie option? And someone chose option number C also. Any doubt in that? Cool. So the answer will be here in this particular example, suicide hacker. Okay, question number 11 is correct, right? Because here we are talking about your integrity, right? Confidentiality, it basically means your encryption, where if, for example, I only want to share some file with, let's just say, Arvin. Okay, I want to share this file with Arvin over this particular chat. So how I will share that thing? I will put a password over that particular file so that no one else can read that particular file. I'm trying to maintain my confidentiality, right? So I'm encrypting that particular file with the particular password that only Mr. Arvind know. Once I send this file over this particular chat, he will be able to get access to this particular file. So that is your confidentiality. I'm trying to maintain that thing. So your encryption will be coming under your confidentiality. Okay, so this thing is your integrity. It means there is no tampering with the data, right? Whatever data I'm trying to send, no one is changing the data, right? If I'm sending a file with some data, let's just say it is having ABC, and when you receive that particular file, the data change from BCD. So this thing is not happening. So for that we have integrity, so that we can see a proper flow of data without being changed. So that thing we do with your hashing, with your digital certificates. Hashes match, data is legit. Exactly. To maintain your data integrity, we use your hashing, your digital certificates, your steganography, right? So whenever we talk about integrity, always remember hashing. Whenever we talk about your confidentiality, always remember encryption. Availability, it means data should be available 24/7. So for that, we have your UPS. So in case of power failure, your UPS will make sure that all the service are running at its normal pace, and whatever service that is there in that particular organization, that is available to each and every person out there. So this thing will be your availability. Password, this thing I will put under your authentication. Okay, when I told about this particular example that I encrypted a file and I set that particular thing over the group, this particular password will prove the authenticity of Mr. Irwin, that okay, he is having the password, so he is only able to access this particular file. So your password will be under your authentication. Okay, so any doubt in any of these things, these options? Answer will be your hashing. Answer this one quickly. So your steps of hacking are reconnaissance, scanning, enumeration, gaining access, and your clearing path. So which of the option will be correct? To converge more in-depth information on the target, which stage of an ethical hack would be the attacker actively applied tools and techniques? Okay, so here first of all they are talking in-depth information. Okay, it means detailed info about that particular target. So in our first step in your reconnaissance, what we do, we try to find basic info, whatever info we can get on that particular target. Okay. So your reconnaissance will be of two types. One is your active, where I'm directly involved with that particular target, and one will be a passive, where I'm simply doing your Google search or finding information from your different social medias or different websites. That is your passive, right? So for example, first step, let's take one new name, Harish. Okay, so I want to do an attack on Harish. According to first step, I need to find information about Harish, that what he do, what is his birthday, right? Where does he live? All those things, right? So two possible situation is there. One thing is passive reconnaissance, where I will simply go to his social media and try to find that particular information, or I will simply try to make a contact, right? I will give him a call, a false call, and I will try to gain information from that particular call. Okay, so that is my first step. Here I'm simply trying to get information. Now in your scanning and enumeration part, what you do, the information that you get from this particular information, you work on more detailed info. Okay, if I get to know in this basic info that he always have a lunch at this particular X hotel around 12 a.m. or 12 p.m., right? He have his lunch around 12 p.m. at this particular hotel. So in your scanning and animation part, what I will do, right, on Monday what he eats, on Tuesday what he eats. So that is your detailed info. Passive and active are one of the same, but the only difference is this thing you try to make contact with the target. Here you don't make a target with the contact. Okay, and scanning and animation part, you try to find more detailed info about the information that you found from your reconnaissance step. Okay, so answer will be option number A, scanning and enumeration. In your systems, what we do using this particular step, your option B and option D, I will try to find IP. Okay, once I got the IP. From the IP, over your scanning and animation part, I will find what all ports are open and what services are running on this particular ports. Yep, using different tools, your Nmap, your Metasploit, right? Different frameworks. So here I'm trying to find more detailed info. From these two steps, my basic idea was to get this particular IP. Okay, so got my answer that why we are going with option number A in your detailed information and not with option number B or option number D. What about others? Clear with this question? Okay, so always remember in your reconnaissance, don't look for active and passive, right? Always look for the reconnaissance part. Here we try to gather your basic information. Then on that basic information, we work that what else in that particular information we can try to attack. Cool. So the last question for today will be this one. Which of the following is a true statement? Okay. So here, without reading the question, I saw one term, CEH. It basically means your white hat. Your white hat hacker. Okay, so I will simply cross these two options, right? By simply looking at this particular word, your CEH. So here the question is scenario to evaluate the security of a company network. An ethical hacker is employed. Whenever you see ethical hacker, simply go with white box or your white hat, right? The CEH has no prior knowledge of the network, zero knowledge, and works under a particular framework that defines boundaries, non-disclosure agreements, your NDAs, and completion date. Okay, so we have two options. One is with your white box and one is with your black box, because these two options are not available because we are talking about a ethical hacker. So that is someone not a black hat hacker. So these two options will be eliminated itself. Now we have zero knowledge. It means this option will be manipulated because white box you have all the knowledge about the target. Okay, wherever you are going for pen testing, they will give you each and every knowledge if you are doing a white box test. Okay, but if you are doing a black box test, you will have a zero knowledge. In this particular question, if with these two options, if you got the new option that attempting a gray box. Okay, so here you can select this option because we are talking about the particular framework. It means he have a knowledge that this particular framework is working on the back end. It means we have little information because you are not having option this particular gray box. That is why your option A is correct. But if you got the option as a gray box also, then go with this particular option because we have little information that what kind of framework we are trying to do pen test on. Okay, so for now answer will be A, black box test.